Hey guys, welcome to another episode of NA Pros complaining about EU players in their ranked games. Today we're going to be watching 4 games played by Sosa. In the first one, he has Dries in his team up against Temper and Zanil. And now, Sosa tweeted out that he thinks that we need a region lock in ranked as soon as possible, as 90% of his losses today have been with SAM or EU player, that's South America or EU. Not saying they're bad, but the ping always makes a big difference, so it's just frustrating. So an interesting take that I think a lot of people would agree with, that it can be very difficult to synergize with players from other regions who have different ways of playing the game. But let's take a look at 4 games that I found that were played at the end of Sosa's last ranked session that happen to have an EU player in them, and it's going to be Temper every time. So this should be quite interesting to see how the two match up against each other. Sosa with a nice beat there to open up the scoring in the first game. You would expect this to be a relatively routine win for Sosa and Dries. Dries is a great player. Joined G2 at the end of RLCS Season X and I think had a brilliant end to the season. I have high hopes for that team in the new RLCS season as well. And as for Sosa, he's not as well known as Dries because he doesn't play for G2 or any of the other very top teams, but definitely keep your eye out for him. This video here is by no means me trying to roast him. Sosa actually is, I think, one of the best players in the up-and-coming scene for NA. I was very impressed with his performance in Salt Mine Atlantic Draft in particular, where I was having a great time actually listening to him and his team in comms. T-Bates had Alpha Kep, Sosa and Beast Mode on his lineup. And they were, I think, brilliant, absolutely brilliant with their ability to make comebacks and to stick in games even when it's not going so well. So I think that Sosa and I think that, Dries as well, both these guys have got great futures ahead of them, great talents. Now, I don't know much about Temper or Zanil, but Zanil is the one who uploaded all these games, and it's because of Zanil that I was able to find these. He replied to Sosa Sweet, actually, and I guessed that they must have been in the same games, and I knew that Zanil, I've seen his name in the ballchasing.com list before as one of the people who's uploading his games automatically. So I gave his name a search, and sure enough, Sosa's in a bunch of them, and so is a European player, Temper, who is from the Netherlands and is extremely high rated in 2v2, or at least he is now after 1 session on US East. Maybe he does this all the time, but I'm not sure. I have recommended my own viewers recently, if you're in the Grand Champ range, give US East a try, because when you play, well, at least when I play in the the kind of Grand Champ 1 range on the US East server, players tend to be a bit more clean with how they play. They don't go for as many bumps and demos and low boost challenges and ball pressure plays. They just leave the ball to go get boost a lot. So it's very easy to play. It's very relaxing to play compared to EU, where you're constantly being challenged and constantly being ball chased by an Octane with a full stop username and a black profile picture. So it's a much more relaxing experience, and I'm interested to see if something that I have been noticing as a trend in the EU NA debate makes another appearance, and if that ball pressure style from Temper will be what he's utilizing. Right now, him and Zanil have just been playing off each other very well, but not well enough to stop Sosa and Dries, who have found another way through. I think that's now 3 goals for Sosa, so he's having a great game here. And Temper's dead ball kickoff not working out well there. Zanil went to the back corner, but a nice little chip will send it long. Lovely control by Dries in the back corner, but now here comes Temper, and he might be going for an air double bump here. Indeed he is, but it's off the bar, and it's muscled in anyway by Zanil. So a little bit of an all-in play there by Zanil, but with how on the back foot they've been for most of this game, he decided that was one of the better opportunities they're going to get. Temper already played for that air dribble bump. I mean, I don't know anything about this guy. I don't think I've ever casted any of his games before, but I really do expect just tons of aggression. So that's what you see when European players. Now it's an isolated challenge there by Temper. Again, just super aggressive. The more conventional thing to do would be to back off. Now he's demoed Dries on his rotation back, and Sosa's bumped him by accident. Oh, that would have been a great little team play by Temper and Zanil. The shot rattles off the post. Of course, not long after we mentioned the fact that we're going to look out for the aggression, it already happens. But that is actually a very good challenge by Temper. You'll notice that he just went straight for the ball there. Zanil had the goal covered, so Temper just went for the ball, and Sosa caught off his line. Bit of mispositioning, that should have been a save. Had he been slightly closer to his net when the shot came over. Inside the final minute, it is now tied. Sosa, clean beat, well dealt with by Zanil. And he actually covered the shot quite well. Oh, Sosa should have scored that. He should have made this 4-3. You know, after starting the game so well, it has gone downhill a bit. Should have saved the last goal for the blue team. Should have scored another for the orange team here. Neither of those plays went the way of Sosa. There's now left a bit of a gap between himself and Dries, so Zanil will recover. Dries didn't really get enough of enough presence in the way of that play though, so I think Sosa would have needed to back off anyway. Now Temper gonna try and dribble Sosa, gets it over him, but Dries is positioned pretty well. Oh, he's nearly hit that into his own top corner, but it will stay safe as Sosa pressures it immediately afterwards. And of course, with the regional rivalry in ranked, it always will be full sweat. Everybody giving this one their all. Kickoff very even. But the aftermath will go in Temper's favour. Sosa deals with it well. Just goal side challenge, straight through the ball, blocking any potential shots. And Sosa with a wave dash recovery will get right back in the way of the play, but Temper, fearless, just challenges immediately. Credit to Zanil and Temper in this game. They have been synergizing brilliantly. They have kept two RLCS pros at bay, and oh dear, Sosa's off his line again, and out of the game he goes, back to the menu. He will not be happy with his second man positioning. Let me just rewind just briefly. Maybe we can catch Sosa right before he let... No, he's already off the scoreboard. It's bugged. But anyway, I wanted to see a last look at the scoreboard there, minus Sosa. Well, there's everybody else, and there's Sosa. So he did actually have a pretty good game here. Very good game played by Zanil and Temper, though. Like I was about to say before the game ended, keeping two RLCS veterans in an even game, and a nice little comeback win there. But we got 3 more games to go and watch today, so let's hop into game number 2. Oh well, it's a rematch, and actually Temper's got the same ping as Dries almost, and that you know, just prompts me once again to give credit to all the West Coast players who are able to play at the highest level against East Coast players in the US and in North American RLCS especially. Oh, good try there by Sosa. Waited for the air dribble bump to fly over him and then went for the save, but unable to knock the ball into his own crossbar. Yeah, Dries and all of the other US West players really do deserve more credit, because I know South American players, Middle East players, we always talk about the ping they have to play with, but it's the exact same sometimes for US West guys, and some of the players who move from West to East suddenly become different beasts. You think of AJ right before RLCS Season X switches to East Coast and definitely had a lot more success in tournaments and in his own individual play. I'm expecting to see a similar sort of thing from Lion Blaze now that he's moved to the East Coast, but who knows, maybe Dries will follow suit. I'd love to see him compete with a lower ping connection as well. Crazy to think that you can get the exact same ping from Europe to an American server as an actual American. Oh, lovely shot. Dries snipes the bottom left corner past Zanil, and that will make up for his earlier play where he left Sosa completely alone in defense. Dries actually recovering pretty well there after messing up his approach in the kickoff. Temper flying straight in for the ball, and that's a theme you're probably going to see in all the games that we watch today. If Temper's not able to defend the net, he'll probably just fly towards the ball or charge towards the ball from wherever he is, and right now he's boost starved, so he's just pressuring the ball, trying to get some kind of 50-50, trying to get some kind of disruption going so that the ball will bounce free and Zanil gets a chance to take it uncontested. That is, for me, the main difference that you see between the high-level EU players and high-level NA players. It's all about where they go when they can't defend the net in defense. They just, do they rotate away from the play, or do they just rotate straight back towards the play? EU tends to be towards it, but of course it's all situational, and the difference isn't as large as you know, a black and white but situation. It is a lot more of a grey area very often. Lovely control by Temper. Dries gets a challenge in, but in the brief moment afterwards where Temper didn't have control of the ball, Sosa couldn't get there. That's the window that you got to try and hit when you're following up a challenge in twos, especially. Just try and get there before the player who just dribbled your teammate can take control again. But this is brilliant patience by Sosa. Temper will boom the ball off the back wall all the way long. He's pre-jumped again. This is definitely going to make it hard to read, but I mean, look at what's happened here. Is just the fact that Temper's pre-jumped has forced Dries to respect the potential hit, back down, and then Zanil gets a free touch. So although a lot of the times here we're not even getting contact on the ball by Orange team, they are giving each other completely free chances to hit it, and Zanil's been reading those plays very well. Dries deciding to run ahead of Sosa. Temper again pre-jumping in the way of the ball, but that was of course to avoid the demo that was coming towards him. Sosa will have the flick covered. Zanil thought about going up to challenge Dries, decided to come back down, and what a great save after he did arrive back in his own net. Another very close game in the ranked rematch. That's, wow, a pitch off his own back wall will send the ball away from the blue end once again. Sosa connecting perfectly with that one, but now here's Zanil, pre-flip, maybe into a reset, actually kills the ball at the near post. Temper commits to it. That's a chance of the counter-attack for Dries and Sosa, but again Temper just goes straight back towards the ball, doesn't want to leave it as a free dribble for Sosa, helps the play from the blind side. Sosa's briefly out the net here. Temper denied by Dries. Great games and end-to-end stuff as well. No clear advantage for either team. Sosa and Dries really focusing on those outplays, but even when Sosa's able to get the ball past Temper, Temper still bumps him and takes him away from it, and that is going to give Zanil another uncontested ball. We're really seeing that happen so often in this game. Can Sosa strike the open net on target? Not before Zanil gets back. What a save! Not for the first time. Zanil with a diving save to keep the game level. We might be heading to another overtime here. Dries and Sosa getting in each other's way a little bit, but not too much. Sosa will recover quickly, take the ball to safety. Now it's Dries in the center of the field. Another save by Zanil, who's just been an absolute wall in this game. And hold on, that might actually be a late chance for Temper. He centers it. Dries will send it into the ground. Another overtime by these two. Great games. You know, this surely can't have been the ones that these can't have been the games. I can see why the last game would have tilted Sosa a little bit with the 2 goals he's conceded, where he's slightly too far off his line, and then of course missing a great chance at the end of the game as well. But this game's been phenomenal by both teams, and oh my goodness, what a save! Somehow they're still in this, but oh no! Temper just sits on top of Sosa, and Sosa couldn't get to the near post in time. Zanil turns around and puts it in, but oh my goodness, what is going on here? This is just pure chaos. Let's rewind and watch this entire sequence in half speed, because this is insane. Temper sends a flip reset shot to the top corner. Dries hits it back into him, and then it's bounced off the inside of the post, and Sosa can easily get to the ball to 50-50. Had it not been for Temper just sitting on his face, he's just parked on top of Sosa, and that gives Zanil all the time to turn around and put it in the top corner. Utterly bizarre, honestly. That is such a rare thing to see, and it looks like Dries landed facing the wrong direction. Oh, he actually he thought the game was over by the looks of things. Yeah, so when this ball bounced across, Dries must have thought that that was just a free goal for Zanil, stopped moving, and then only after a moment did he realise that Zanil actually had to turn on this. So maybe Dries could have got there after this happened. I mean, obviously when you see the ball bounce like this, you just think, yep, that's a goal, nothing we could do. But actually, if he just slammed reverse and turned slightly to the left, half flipped into the ball, he's probably saving this, or he's probably going to get a 50-50, or at least, you know, forces Zanil to take a more roundabout way than just going straight towards the top corner. So very random end of the game there. You can see why Dries would assume that that was just a goal. Even looking at the way Zanil was coming at the ball, it looked like he just had a free goal. We'll look at it from his POV as well, since we haven't done that yet. So here's what he saw. Waiting in the middle. And yeah, he didn't see the ball bouncing off the post till it was too late. Couldn't quite get it on the first try, but lovely control. And honestly, a brilliant defensive game by Zanil. He really carried this one with the saves. But you can absolutely see that out of these 2 games, at least, that we've seen so far, Temper is by far the most aggressive player off the ball. He's by far the most aggressive player with his rotations, not really rotating away from the play at all. Every time he's out the game, he goes straight back towards it. We do see Sosa, Dries, and Zanil do that often as well, but not at the same, definitely not the same regularity. But we've got 2 more games, so let's continue on and see how the third one go. Let's see if Dries and Sosa are going to have a better time in that one. Okay, I said Dries. Actually, we're not going to have him here. It's Omar, who is going to be in Temper's team for this one. And Sosa now has the defensive wall Zanil in his squad, so he's got to be feeling confident about this game. Just saw Zanil carry the game defensively, and now he's got him in his team. So we will have to pay attention to Omar's addition to the lobby. Great read there by Sosa. I love that. Complete call on the bluff. So Omar tries to jump and demo him. Sosa just sat still, waited for him to go over his head. Yeah, the tilt was definitely visible. Maybe not tilt, but you know, the frustration was definitely visible at the end of that last game. Whenever someone isn't moving after a goal goes in, you can often assume that they're just trying to shake off the frustration. As Rocket League players, especially at high level, every time a goal goes in, they're all half flipping, they're going for resets on ceilings and walls and whatever else. And to see a motionless Sosa floating through the air, to me, did show some frustration about how the game ended with a ridiculous, kind of like an extended Goomba Stomp, to use some terminology that is thrown around Rocket League sometimes. Sosa into the middle to Zanil, and oh wow, nearly a save by Temper, but into the top of the net it goes. That was all in the assist from Sosa. Really well done to center the ball in a threatening angle. He was, of course, threatening a goal of his own. Omar now doing exactly what we saw a lot of from Temper in the last game, just diving straight towards the ball when he's out the game. And you can see that it just relieved the pressure on Temper so much. He didn't have to do anything. He just sat in defense, waited for Omar's challenge to connect, and then able to make a free play on the ball. Now a lot of space here for Temper. 1v1 with Sosa, cuts in field, then cuts back across the other direction, but Sosa just stays completely parked in the way of it. Boost absolutely running out now, and off the post it goes into the middle. Omar can sneak around it and chips it into the middle of the net. Not even Zanil with his heroic defending able to stop that one. Boost just ran out at the worst possible time there, and for once Sosa didn't just sit and wait for the play to develop. He did dive in. Rare to see him do that, especially with what we've seen from him before that in this game. Sosa didn't move in for the ball because he's worried about the bump. The bump still connects though. Omar waited patiently for it. Sosa knew that was coming. He didn't lunge straight for the ball when it was in the corner. So he knew if he did, he'd put himself in the firing line. Had to go there anyway. Strong challenge from Zanil. Temper refuses him to let him center it, and now sends it down the line, where Sosa lets Zanil come in for the free ball. Now, that's a really good play as well when you just leave the ball for your second man. You could do the same in 3v3 when you leave it for your third man if it is rolling through to them or bouncing through to them or flying through to them. If it's going through to them in some way that's not contested and they are just going to get a free touch, then of course you want to leave that. It's only when the other team have the ball, you know, dribbling, or whether they're setting up a passing play or just counter-attacking in general, that's when it's much smarter to just cut in front of your teammate and pressure the ball. You don't want to leave them alone. Omar's left that alone, not intentionally. He will have a lot of space now. Omar, a great ones player, so you really don't want to do that. You don't want to give him 1v1 positions in 2v2. Sosa taking the mid boost there. He thought that the next player to go over it would be a blue team player, so even though he didn't necessarily need it, he did take it away. Temper Ceiling shot denied by Zanil. Continues to be a force in defense. Sosa sending it long immediately and unable to connect to Temper as he heads back to net. Temper never going to get a double touch on target from that angle. Still wanted to get a quick center ball to keep the pressure on. Pre-flip into an air dribble. Sosa brings that one to a halt pretty quickly. Zanil has a bit of space. Only gets the ball past one. And now Sosa really taking a lot of boost here. It's going to leave Zanil a bit dry for a moment. And he parks up beside Temper, maybe getting a bit of revenge for the last game where Temper was able to do that against Sosa for the win. Sosa, oh, he probably wishes he just took a shot there after the outcome, but I do like the control and the just inherent mind game that we saw there from Sosa. Blocks the shot in his retreat. Zanil recovers to guide the ball into the blue half once again. Are we really headed to another overtime here? Every single game has been a close one. And this really hasn't been as much of a Temper pressuring the ball kind of game, because Omar has played more aggressively than Zanil did when he was teamed up with Temper. Zanil backed off quite a lot when he was teamed up with Temper, and Temper was the one who was pressuring the ball non-stop. But Omar has done his fair share of that. They've both been extremely aggressive, trying to move in as quickly as possible to just get near the ball on every single play. Oh, what a shot. Temper just ends it in style in this one. Let's take a look at his POV in this goal. Zanil tries to clear it to safety, but wow, what a first touch by Temper. Just able to get the ball straight into the top corner after that. Zanil probably needed to just close the distance here. He's got one touch there. Now he has to realize that he is not defending the net in this play. Like, Zanil in this play is not able to effectively defend the net, and a shot might be coming. So if you can't defend the net in twos and your teammate can, very often the best thing to do is just to lunge in the way of the ball, make sure that there's no shot coming, or definitely not a controlled touch like what we saw here. But Zanil does turn away. He's hoping that Sosa will be able to just contest this. I think he didn't realize, Zanil didn't realize that is, that the ball was actually going to bounce off the wall and be quite easy for Temper to control. And you can see that after he realizes Temper has controlled it, that's when he jumps up in the air to try and block the shot, but it's just a bit too late. And yeah, Sosa can't really do much here. He has to just stay back and cover the net, because if he lunges at this and the shot goes past him, then Zanil definitely can't cover the net. So in this moment, Sosa decides to fake a challenge, because if Temper chipped this past him, it might as well be a goal. So he's trying to predict where Temper's going to go with this. Doesn't realize Temper's actually just going to shoot to the near post top corner, anticipated far post top corner, and they have lost the game. A great placement by Temper, very nice shot. This really was the reason that the orange team's lost this, is because Zanil just doesn't quite get this ball to safety. He thought he did. He thought that this was a ball that's hugging the sidewall, but it's actually bounced in field. And you know, if it is bouncing in field, he should absolutely have turned the other way, tried to just get up close and personal with Temper, not let Temper shoot from this kind of range, force him to make an outplay from further away. That would give Sosa more time to react. But you know, that's just one situation, and you could see why Zanil would have thought that ball wasn't bouncing into the middle. It looked like it might just hug the wall, or at least stay close enough to the wall that it would be difficult for Temper to control. And all in all, it's just a really good finish by Temper. Really nice first touch and a perfect shot. That's just how it goes sometimes in 2v2. You just get a bit more space to make these plays. But overall, a great game, and everybody played really well. So we're not seeing any real standout player in these games. It's just a very high level lobby, and everybody's putting up some great Rocket League and other overtime as well. But we've got time for one more, so let's see how the last game goes. Will Sosa be able to get any luck against EU? So here we go, and it is back to that Temper Zanil combo that worked quite well in the first two games. They were able to beat Dries and Sosa twice. Now they're up against Sosa and Omar, who just won the previous game with Temper in his team. So another chance for Sosa, who has just been up against Temper every single time here. That's been the story of these games. Now, you know, what do you guys in the comments think in particular has been the standout moments? What do you think have been the standout stylistic differences for you guys. You know, I've been talking a lot recently, even today, about the ways that these players at the highest level like to rotate in 2v2 especially, but also to a lesser extent in 3s. Do they like to prioritize boost, or do they like to prioritize ball pressure? And it's clear to see that Temper, he's a ball pressure guy, and Zenil and Sosa in all these games have been more about the boost, more about just getting back and defending with space, not so much trying to get right in the opponent's face, but try and react to what they're doing, much like we're seeing from Sosa here. But Zenil calls his bluff on the challenge, fakes him out pretty well, and slots another one in the bottom corner. And there was definitely a disconnect there between Omar and Sosa, who has now had a bit of a fail trying to bump Temper off the boost, actually just sends him into it. Good boost tonight in the midfield, and that's a really nice play by Sosa as well, staying near the ball because he knows that there might be a shot opportunity for the blue team, so he stays active and cuts it off. Now here comes the aerial play. Is it going to be a double for Sosa? Not quite, but it's down to Omar. Zenil with another save. That's really been the story of Zenil and Temper as a team. They have been excellent at just complementing each other's play, and now Omar's missed it overhead, giving Temper a goal to put them 2 ahead. So it's all going pretty wrong now for Sosa and Omar. There's been big gaps between Sosa and Omar in a lot of these plays. They're not really playing as a unit so far in this game. They're leaving each other quite isolated at times and committing very heavily to plays that don't really look like they have that much to win in this situation. Zenil denied by Sosa, who's recovered really well off the back wall to stay on this. Temper again just applies that ball pressure. He just doesn't back down. He forces a play out of Sosa, and then who comes away with the free ball? Zenil, who presents an opportunity for Temper to score. And Temper doesn't need a second invitation. Man, these guys really are playing brilliantly. I didn't know what to expect from these games, as this is the first time I've watched them. Temper and Zenil have got some great synergy. They complement each other really well, and I think you do need slightly different playstyles in 2s, and historically some of the best 2s teams have been pairings that you have one more aggressive player and one player who's more passive. Think Ahmad and Khalid, and think Alpha 54 and Fairy Peak. Even thinking to teams like K-Dop and Panda, who have won the Universal Open, Squishy and Gimmick. You know, you got one absolute wild card there, Gimmick and Squishy backing him up. There always has to be, I think, one player who's just going to be the one who always thinks defensively and always thinks about what might go wrong in a position. That's been Zenil. He's been covering the net, he's been covering hard clears, he's been covering the defensive option every single time that he plays with Temper, and Temper is never leaving the ball. If it's not contested, he is contesting it. If they don't have pressure, he's pressuring. If there's nobody challenging, he is challenging. He's always making sure that there's no free space for the orange team. And again, even here, Temper gets outplayed by a fantastic flip reset by Sosa, but what he does do is he forces Sosa to make an outplay, and that actually results in a goal for them at the other end, and that is actually going to be game as well. A very quick game, but yeah, these guys just played phenomenal Rocket League, and I think, you know, like I said, I didn't know what to expect from these games when I come in to watch them, but I think Zenil's just shown a really good example of how to play with a European player. So if there's any American pros or any high-rated American players who want to know how do you play with a European or a South American player who's queuing into your server, I think you just got to try and do exactly what Zenil did when he played with Temper. He just always had his back. He always made sure to follow up on Temper's aggression. Look here for the first goal. Temper's just got absolutely no boost, but he's pressuring the ball. Eventually it comes away, and it's a completely free ball for Zenil. What's Temper doing in the meantime? He's actually just stayed active, bumping Omar to prevent his retreat, and Zenil's able to score 1 goal. We're going to go through and look at all the other goals here. Challenge by Temper actually just resulted in an immediate goal off an Omar misplay for the second one, so not much to say for that one. I think we had an interesting moment a bit further back on this third one. So here's exactly what I'm talking about. So Zenil's out of the game, briefly, but he's going to be back in the game. He's going to be relevant pretty soon. Let's look at what Temper does while Zanil is getting back in the game. He doesn't lunge in here. You might think that he would because he's been diving in a lot of challenges. He's been playing very aggressively, but he doesn't lunge in here because he knows that there's no follow-up for Zanil yet. Zanil's not yet in position to follow up on anything he does, so he's actually just faking challenges. He's just staying near the ball, and then eventually Sosa, thinking that Temper is going to dive in, makes a play on it, and it actually just ends up being another free ball for Zanil, who is just waiting for Temper to generate these possessions for him. Zanil did really well though, neutralizing the ball and letting it drop down to give Temper an open net. And then here we see Temper just playing the percentages here. He knows that what's the chances of him saving pre-jump saving an Omar rebound here? Extremely low. And I've really got to compliment this defense from Zanil in this exchange. This is fantastic. He realizes that Omar might be scoring this rebound, but if he is, there's a very, very low chance. If this rebound is on target, there's a very low chance that Zanil is going to pre-jump save it, because it could go anywhere. It could be high, low, it could be left, right. It could go literally anywhere. It could bounce into the goal. It could even just go to the backboard and be a pass to Sosa. So he doesn't bother pre-jumping. Instead, he waits and sees what happens, and then he's able to make a good save on a shot from Sosa. So I love that. Just really excellent play out of Zanil, realizing that there's no need to jump, because you might actually get a better chance. Like if Omar scores that, well done Omar, you know, nothing you could do about it. But if Omar misses, then maybe we could do something about it. So really good reading of the position there. Now we'll watch one more goal here. So Sosa's up in the air, and this is a very common double commit in low rated ranked. This is a position that you will always see double commits from the blue team in lower rated ranked, even higher rated ranked sometimes. But let's look at what Zanil sees in this position as well. So he's rotating away from the play. I'm not surprised at all to see this. You know, the NA player staying really deep, but this is a great way to play with Temper, as Zanil's already realized, because Temper is likely to pressure the ball, because Temper realizes that he can't defend the net from where he is, so he might as well pressure the ball. Force a touch out of Sosa, and then that'll give Zanil more time to defend the net. So Temper dives in the way of Sosa, forces Sosa to make an outplay happen. So Sosa had to cease air dribbling, go for a flip reset mind game, and then shoots on net, and Zanil's able to collect it for free. Of course, if Temper doesn't dive in here, Sosa might wait until much later, floor pinch, flip reset from closer range, or just make a normal shot happen, continue air dribbling. The options would be limitless for a guy with Sosa's mechanics. So that is exactly what you want to do from Temper's position. Just lunge in, make sure that you get some kind of ball pressure, because you're not doing it. If you're rotating to the back corner here, you're not contributing to the play. You're actually just giving Sosa a completely free air dribble straight towards your net, leaving your teammate in a 1v1. So this is much smarter to do. Even if you do get outplayed, you buy your teammate some time. And Zanil does really well with that, and they do end up scoring off an unfortunate hit from Omar, and the game does come to an end. You can understand why the orange team would go pretty all in here. They are already down 4-1, so it makes sense to play aggressively. But yeah, so I'd look over those goals again, because it's quite interesting to see, especially after a few games playing together, how Zanil and Temper have built up some pretty good synergy. And I think you know, this is a good way to show how to play with a player who's got to play with higher ping, because when you need to play with higher ping, you need to be a bit more aggressive. You can't be reading plays, you can't be backing off and shadowing and reacting, because it's a lot harder to react to 50-50s. And it's a lot harder to react to shots than it is to just go and make a play on the ball when it's open and uncontested. So that is probably what you want to do. Just try and have your teammates back. Try and play as a unit. Whenever your teammate's able to force a ball to bounce into space, you want to be there for it. And that's what Zanil did really well here, as well as just playing that goalkeeper role brilliantly. And that's something else that I think you just want to do if you're playing with a higher ping player, is just be the second man in twos, be the third man in threes more often, because it's much easier to be the second man reacting to what's happening when you've got a lower ping connection. Much harder, of course, for Temper to do that, because if he's on the goal line waiting to see what kind of flip reset Sosa sends at him, he's gonna have a much harder time saving that, because he literally has less time to react to what's happening. So that is, I think, a really well done session by Zanil, showing us how it's done, showing us how you can synergize with higher ping players. But all in all, I think both styles work. I've said this many times. I think that, you know, playing a very passive boost focus style. It can work, you can win, you could be a rank 1 player, you could be the best 2s team in the world doing that. Playing a very high pressure style where you're staying on the ball all the time, doesn't matter how much boost you've got, that can also work. It's all about execution, and these two executed very well, even with completely different styles of play. But yeah, Sosa's a great player, guys. I'm not making this video to roast Sosa. I think he's phenomenal. I think he's got a great future in RLCS, and I think he's got the potential to be on one of the absolute best teams in North America. And I'm not just saying that because I feel bad about him losing all these ranked games. I genuinely do think he's fantastic. And if you've not had a chance yet, go watch the VODs on T-Bait's Twitch channel. You'll be able to hear the Saltmine Atlantic Draft comms from Sosa, Beast Mode, and Alpha Kep. Joy to listen to. But that's all we got time for today, guys. Bit of a longer ranked review kind of video, but I wanted to take a look at all these games, see the progression of these players together. And of course, you got to remember, this is just one session. I'm sure that another session you'd have Sosa farming as well. You got to take the wins and the losses. And then just go next. But yeah, if you want to see any more players, if there's others that you want to see me do videos like this from, just leave them in the comments, or tell them to tweet some rage that I'll go and investigate, because I always love to do that. GG's to all these players. It's great to be able to watch their games. Shout out to Neil for uploading them, and have a nice day, everybody. I'll see you in the next one.